Good morning, members. We have reached the appointed hour with a quorum. The meeting is now called to order. Please invite the government officials and also representatives of the HK Television, Hong Kong Television Network Limited into the room. First of all, good morning. The purpose of today's special meeting is to enable members to follow up on issues relating to the mobile television service proposed to be provided by the Hong Kong Television Network Limited. May I welcome Mr. Ricky Wong and Mr. Simon Leung of the Hong Kong Television Network Limited, or HKTV, and then also representatives from the Communications Authority, Mr. Ambrose Ho, Chairman of the Authority, and the Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, Mr. Gregory So, the Permanent Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, Ms. Susie Ho, Mr. Joe Wong, Deputy Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, Mr. Aaron Liu, Principal Assistant Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, Ms. Eliza Lee, Director General of Communications, Dr. Anthony Sito, Member of the Communications Authority, Mr. Danny Lau, Deputy Director General of Communications, Ms. Chosa Leung, Assistant Director, Office of Communications Authority. In terms of numbers, there's a big difference in number of persons, but we don't know what is if there is any difference in quality. Let me remind the people attending our meeting, apart from the officials and members of this council, they are not protected by legislative council power and privileges ordinance. So, Mr. Wong, you are responsible for what you say. I will first invite Mr. Ambrose Ho of the Communications Authority to speak, and then Mr. Gregory So, the Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, to speak, and then I'll invite Mr. Ricky Wong to speak. And then members may ask questions or give their opinions afterwards. And then I'll invite the officials to reply if necessary. Mr. Ambrose Ho, please. Thank you, Chairman. What I want to say to the panel concerning the mobile television network, what I say today may be quite dull. I think the bone of contention involves two pieces of legislation, the Broadcasting Ordinance and the Telecommunications Ordinance. The two pieces of legislation regulate different areas. One regulates telecommunications, the other regulates broadcasting. And the BO and the TO have been there for many years, and the regulatory framework have been there for many years. And the trade is fully aware of the scope of these two pieces of legislation. With regard to HKMTV, or with regard to mobile TV, it is regulated under the TO. As for ATV, TVB, broadcasting free terrestrial TV, they are regulated by the BO. So there are two different laws. Mr. Ricky Wong, on the 20th of December, announced that HKTV bought a subsidiary of China Mobile. Now, having bought the subsidiary of China Mobile, they become a licensee of mobile TV, and a licensee can provide mobile TV service. An important element of mobile TV is the broadcasting for reception at moving locations in Hong Kong. Moving locations means you can watch mobile TV via your mobile phone or tablet. This is a rather personal type of TV service, and under the license, it spells out that the licensee can provide all kinds of service. Now, if it says nothing in this license authorizes the licensee to provide any service subject to licensing under any other ordinance. As for the recent incident, we were aware that having bought the subsidiary of China Mobile, HKTV decided not to, or intended not to use CMMB, but use the DTMB standard. And as you all know, this is what ATV and TVB are using in their free TV digital broadcasts. If HKMTV uses the DTMB standard, then the effect is the same or similar to that of DTT, digital terrestrial TV broadcasting. And therefore, there will be more than 5,000 households who can directly receive their broadcasts at home through their TV sets. This is an objective consequence which may be in breach of the regulatory framework for pay TV and free TV. It's very clear that if anyone is able or intends to provide broadcasting that can be received by 5,000 or more households, then that will fall within the definition of FTV, free TV, or pay TV. And therefore, there's a need to have a license. A mobile TV license is to provide mobile TV service. That is not for a fixed service and not for a fixed location. Now, if there is the possibility that it will fall within the definitions of free TV or pay TV, then the relevant license will have to be obtained. The bone of contention, therefore, is about whether using the DTMB standards will breach or will be caught by the definitions of FTV and PTV under the BO, and therefore there's a need for a broadcasting license. The 5,000 specified premises requirement is nothing new, and we didn't make it up because of the present issue. In fact, in the year 2000, when the BO was enacted, there was such a definition. Now, having heard that Mr. Wong intended to use this system on the 24th of January, we had a meeting with Mr. Wong. At that meeting, the OFCA colleague talked to Mr. Wong on the possibility of breaching the definition of the BO. As for the technical side, my colleagues can further supplement. Technically speaking, does it mean that there is no room for mobile TV to develop its service? Now, the China Mobile used the CMMB standard. Using the CMMB standard would not fall within the definition of 5,000 specified premises. If there is a change to the standard, you can add encryption. When you promote a service and launch a service, the service have to comply with the provisions of the various ordinances, and the onus falls, or the responsibility falls, on the provider. The service provider can tell us what sort of service it intends to provide, and we can consider whether doing so using such a technology may involve certain issues. We've heard from various channels that in 2008, when the administration launched mobile TV service, there was a framework, and whether the present arrangement is in breach of that framework. In the paper, in our paper, there is a document attached, and that is Annex A. We have attached a paper submitted to the Legislative Council dated the 22nd December 2008 by the Communications and Technology branch. And paragraph 14 of that paper says, Annex A, paragraph 14, it says, in relation to programming, the broadcasting ordinance currently does not regulate television program services for mobile reception, i.e., reception on the move, not related to any specified premises in Hong Kong. The paper is very clear. The licensing for mobile TV is in relation to reception of service by mobile, in relation to mobile reception. Now, if it is receiving the broadcast in a mobile circumstances, or in a mobile circumstance, or a mobile environment, then of course it is not in breach of the law. But if it is in relation to specified premises receiving that broadcast, then that is not the intention of the licensing for mobile TV.
So, it's not that we are targeting at a particular license operator or service provider. In principle, or basically, OFCA is only interpreting the relevant legislation and implementing the requirements. There is no question of shifting the goalpost, because the definition of 5,000 designated premises has been in the legislation all along. And a few weeks ago, we met the media, and OFCA explained to the media issues arising from the mobile TV services. I think the focus is somehow shifted now. The question is whether OFCA is treating MTV, TVB, ATV in a fair manner in terms of enforcement. Now, we cannot depart from what's written in the legislation. Now, when HKMTV operated by Mr. Ricky Wong can be received at designated or specified premises, and ATV and TVB services can be received in mobile devices. Does that mean that they have breached the legislation? And is it that we are not taking enforcement action even though ATV, TVB's transmissions can be received by mobile devices? Now, I think we have to go back to the Telecommunications Ordinance, TO. I think Section 1AA is the relevant provision, and according to Section 8(1)AA, and if a person or an operator offers to provide broadcasting services, then a license is required.
Offer in the course of business a telecommunication service. 咁即係話
In other words, offer, that means offer to offer a service. Under the legislation, there is a definition for to offer a service. And also under 8(1) capital letter A, there is a definition of what is meant by to offer a service. I read out the English first.
For which, if accepted, would give rise to an agreement, arrangement, or understanding for the provision of a telecommunication service by him. 咁所以唔係話
So it's not that once the signals are transmitted, services are being provided. Rather, there must be an offer to providing the service, and then the other party accepts it before we can say that the definition is fulfilled. So we have to go back to the legislation to look at the provisions and what is being targeted and what are the requirements. Well, there was wide coverage on the TV on a few days. Mr. Wong led a team of journalists, and they went to different places, streets, vehicles, and so forth. And he said that technically such signals could be picked up or received. I will not refer to the technology first, and it was received very smoothly. Well, does that mean that Section 8(1)AA is breached? Even though the signals can be very smoothly and clear received outdoors, that doesn't mean that the service provider has made an offer to customers to make an arrangement or to make an understanding for the provision of the service. That was not intended. So you may not fully understand how a license can be granted under TO. I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to explain once more to you the position and views of OFCA on this subject. It's certainly not that we have a double standard and that for mobile TV services, we are very strict in enforcement, and for signals of free TV services, we don't care if they can be received on the streets. No, as a regulator, we have to really look at what the provisions are in the respective ordinances. As a regulator, I've said on many occasions that we are a statutory independent body set up under our legislation. We are not part of the government. We have got 11 members. 9 of them are independent persons. In this event, we are certainly not targeting at any license holder, not Mr. Rick Lee in particular, and we're not favoring any particular TV stations. The 2 pieces of legislation regulate different types of services. It's true that technology has developed very rapidly. Some services are defined as broadcasting services, others are telecommunication services. Because technology has developed by leaps and bounds, is it true that the boundary is now blurred? Indeed, I think this incident has given rise to an issue which we should discuss. When new technology is gradually being applied, will there be challenges to our regulatory regime and legislation, and how should our laws dovetail with the new developments in technology? I think we should focus our discussion on that, given that we have 2 ordinances in our regulatory regime. It's not that the law is not clear as to what is meant by 5,000 specified premises, or there is any unclear definition about to make an offer leading to unfair enforcement. The question is whether we need to merge the regulation of the 2 types of services. If yes, how should we do it? I think we should focus our discussion on this. Now, we cannot amend the law overnight. What we can do is how we should discharge our duty as an independent regulator under the relevant legislation. Of course, members will have the opportunity to discuss broad policy issues, and we should look at the nature of the question we have now. Objectively, if Mr. Wong is going to use a DTMB standard, that the signals can be received directly by households. That is, if you have a big TV set, and now you can have access to a J2 channel and also digital broadcasting. Now, if Mr. Wong goes for DTMB, that means in future you can directly receive such services using your TV sets. The regulatory framework of broadcasting services is relatively strict because so far it is a very popular service with a lot of impacts, very influential. Since it is so influential and pervasive, now we have run a few public forums, and we're told by young people that they no longer watch TV. They use iPads and also mobile phones to enjoy programs. That may be true for some young people, but free TV services is a major channel for people to receive entertainment and information. Since this kind of service is so pervasive, I think we have to be cautious. We adopt a rather stringent approach. First, we will consider whether the license holder is a resident of permanent resident of Hong Kong, and whether the person is a fit and proper person to hold such a license, whether he is fit to be a part of the board, and whether there will be abuse of power in terms of advertisement placement, the code of practice, and whether news are fair and impartial, and during prime time. Well, we've also got lots of regulations. Why? Because an operator possesses a free TV license, and then we will be the gatekeeper within the regulatory framework. Now, if you say that it doesn't matter, my standard can be received by just as many households, and I am not subject to these regulatory requirements, then there will be some confusion. The question is not whether Mr. Wong should be granted a free TV license. This is not the question today. The crux of the matter is we have two regulatory regimes, and Mr. Wong holds a license for running mobile TV services. So, objectively, he should not be providing a service where a free TV service license is required so that it can be regulated under the license. To be more forward-looking, you may want to know how we are going to merge the two regulatory regimes. Should we relax the regulation of free TV services, or should we, or rather, if your programs can be commonly received by many households, then we should tighten the regulation of mobile TV. I think we need to discuss the way forward. We must have a consensus. We cannot just ask to decide what's going to happen, because these are broad policy issues, and we must have a consensus in the community before we improve our legislation to reflect that consensus. However, the issue in front of us is in accordance with what's in the current legislation. OFCA would certainly exercise our functions and discharge our responsibilities under the current legislation. We will, with due diligence, do what is required of us under the legislation. Thank you. May I invite Mr. Gregory So, Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, to say a few words, and then I give the floor to Mr. Ricky Wong, who has prepared PowerPoint presentation for us. The hard copy is already tabled, and he's going to give us a detailed presentation afterwards before I open the floor to members for questions. Secretary.
Just now, the chairman of the CA has already explained to you the regulatory arrangement and its position. I just want to briefly speak on broadcasting policy. When I spoke at previous occasions, members asked whether there was a speaking note. So if need be, I asked the secretary to give a photocopy of the speaking notes to you. Broadcasting policy and the law are consistent. There is no change in policy. The policy is forward-looking. From the policy perspective, with regard to broadcasting that can be received by specified premises, i.e. the homes, the broadcasting is to enable large numbers of the members of the public to receive TV broadcasting very easily in order to protect children, uphold public moral standard. The regulation has been strict stuff from licensee to whether the license is fit and proper person, the advertising standard, program standard, the broadcasting of programs during different time slots are all regulated so that the service is acceptable to the community at large, and all these are in the broadcasting ordinance. From the enactment of the BO and from the various amendments, the consensus in the community has been reflected. With regard to the recent public hearing of renewal of free TV license, those attending the meeting have expressed their strong aspirations and demands towards the licensees, including corporate governance, the quality of the programs and broadcasting standards, and also advertising standards. As for broadcasting through the Internet, traditionally speaking, the Internet has been very free, and Internet TV is, or network TV is rather personal. It's different from traditional TV broadcasting. The regulation is rather loose. It's mainly based on self-regulation. I have already stated the principles behind the policy, and that does not change, and they do not change with the technology. It's still applicable today. Today's concern is mobile TV service. In 2007 and 2008, the administration conducted 2 public consultations. In December 2008, the administration published the development framework for mobile television service. After formulating the framework in terms of policy and legislation, we are forward-looking. We know that mobile television service is a new personal service. In 2008, the administration formulated its policy. It adopted a loose or lenient regulatory framework. It didn't change the broadcasting ordinance. As long as it is in a as long as it's mobile reception and it's not in a fixed location, and then the service will not be regulated by the BO. In 2007, at a meeting of the ITBP panel on the 6th of February 2007, I had the minutes with me. If you are interested, you can have a copy. At that meeting, Ms. Emily Lau raised a question, and the then Permanent Secretary, Mr. Ho, explained to her that with regard to mobile TV, it was for mobile reception outdoors. It was for small display panels, and therefore they were not regulated under the BO. Now, it's very clear. In terms of technology, audience of specified premises receiving mobile TV, the service may become a service that has to be licensed under the BO. In our explanation, we said that we adopt a lenient regulatory approach basing on this portable mobile service is different from traditional TV service. Our policy position has not changed. These mobile or this broadcast service into specified premises should be regulated more tightly than the broadcasting of mobile service. Anyone providing service should provide with the should comply with the provisions of the law. I've noticed that concerning the incident, policy and the law have not catch up with technology, and there is the need to revisit the law. We don't agree with that position. In 2007, as early as 2007, when that was the first public consultation, we did not rule out technological development enabling a same standard for mobile broadcasting and terrestrial broadcasting. Our policy has not hindered such an approach. Under the principle of technology technology neutrality, the operator has the freedom to choose technology but has to comply with the licenses, including obtaining licenses required by law. Chairman, as to whether the law has to be reviewed, the administration will listen to the views of all sectors. Does it mean that mobile TV service have to be incorporated under the BO, or should the administration adopt a more lenient approach? Even if mobile TV is broadcast to specified premises, it will not be regulated by the BO. In that case, mobile broadcast to specified premises will become an issue, whether it will be in line with public interest and whether it will be in line with the aspirations of the people. We need to discuss that in depth, and it's not appropriate for us to make any conclusion at present. Our policy and the law do not prohibit the development of mobile TV. If anyone who wants to provide mobile TV and at the same time who wants to provide broadcast to specified premises, the provider can apply under the law, and the law has been there over many years. It's not targeting against any institution or body. We do not provide anyone getting around the broadcasting ordinance by broadcasting under the name of mobile TV. That is not in line with our regulatory framework, and we have to comply with the law. The Communications Authority is an independent law enforcing agency. All along, it has been enforcing the law according to the authority given to it. I hope that the context between the Communications Authority and the HKTV will help to resolve this problem. We now, yes. May I have a copy of the speaking notes? And also the minutes of 2007, and also the speaking notes of Mr. Ambrose Ho, if any. As for the minutes on the 6th of February 2007, that's the minutes of the panel. The Secretariat will make the arrangement for photocopying, and we also have the speaking notes of the Mr. So. We are photocopying it for you. I'd like to remind you that we will have our meeting until 10:30, and at 10:45 there is a meeting with the meeting concerning the District Council, and I also chair that meeting, so I really need to end the meeting at 10:30. I will I have to allow ample time to the administration and HKTV to present their case. We need to give them ample time so that they can state their case clearly. And when members ask questions, please don't waste your time. Please don't ask unrelated questions. Mr. Ricky Wong. Good morning, Chairman, members of the panel, and also government officials. I'm glad to have this opportunity to talk face-to-face with each other on the issue. What is allowed and what is not allowed with regard to mobile TV license. Before I speak, I want to reiterate one point. This is not just Ricky Wong's matter. Please do not target at me when you speak. This is about a company, the Hong Kong Mobile Television Network Limited. In February, we raised a whole lot of questions. We wrote to the authorities concerned, but up till yesterday, we only received a simple reply by a lawyer commissioned by the CA, and it said that it was waiting for, or rather, the lawyer was waiting for the instruction of its client, i.e., the communications authority. If it is very simple, if the policy is very clear, why no answer has been given after more than a month? As said by Mr. Ambrose Ho, the chairman of the CA, the question is about specified premises or reception by specified premises, or people use the term getting into the homes or getting into the households. Does it mean that when you receive our programs at home, that means the broadcast gets into the home? Can that be seen at home? Our answer is that even at home, you can still watch our mobile TV service. On the 11th of March, the Communications Authority, or rather the OFCA, issued a news release, and it made reference to para 1.1 of the schedule of the license. Now, it says that broadcast type mobile television service means a service of conveying television programs operating at the frequency specified in Schedule 3 with the use of digital broadcasting technologies for reception at moving locations in Hong Kong. It's strange that they only mention the first half of Schedule 1. A more important part is the second half of Schedule 2. Or rather, the second half of Schedule 1, paragraph 3. There is no Chinese, so I will have to use the English version only. What do they define moving location?
包括without limitation 一啲 A 同埋 B
Without limitation, A and B. B is not related.
of a customer of the service。咁乜嘢叫 moving station 咧？咁
Mobile station.
sorry mobile stations。多謝主席。
What is meant by mobile station? If you look at mobile station, it has been highlighted.
喺個牌照
Being installed at a fixed location. If you look at the provision, I'm not a lawyer, but in simple English, you can see a mobile station or a moving location refers to the apparatus using the technology of a mobile station for including that being installed at a fixed location. Mobile TV doesn't mean moving location, or it means using mobile technology to receive the broadcast. Whether it is a fixed location or a moving location, according to the license, the technology can be used. So please do not just insist on this is a mobile TV license and is for reception at moving locations only, and therefore it cannot be allowed at home. Well, if you use a mobile phone, you know that very clearly.
我指出
The license has clearly pointed out that a mobile station includes any apparatus using the technology of a mobile station from mobile customer but being installed at a fixed location. So please do not confuse the concepts. And does that mean that you cannot watch mobile TV services using your big TV sets? Many people query that we have the intention to allow our programs to be seen at home. In fact, over 90% of the buildings in Hong Kong, now regardless of the standards we use, the big TV sets at home cannot pick up such signals because most buildings have legally installed filters. Regardless of the standard we use, even if we use DTMB, which would like to use, over 90% of the households in Hong Kong cannot receive our signals. DTMB is commonly used in mobile services, mobile TV services of 43 provinces on the mainland. Shenzhen, which is our near neighbor, and Guangzhou are using DTMB for mobile TV services. While we disagree that the license is subject to the regulation of the Broadcasting Ordinance, because in our correspondences with OFCA, we quoted many provisions from 2008 and 2010, and when we there was the tendering for the license, it was already said that the services will not be subject to any control in terms of technology. Now we say that this is technically impossible because on the 24th of January, OFCA met with us, suggesting that we use a DVB, a European standard. However, on the 12th of March, in a press conference, in a closed-door press conference, or briefing with the press, OFCA. Now, because it was a closed-door briefing, we could not attend the briefing. And one newspaper, and that is Ming Pao, reported that Mr. Danny Lau, Deputy DG of OFCA, admitted that if in 2 years' time, TV set-top boxes that can decode DVB-H become popular, and if clearly there are over 5,000 households that are able to receive the signals as specified services, OFCA will take enforcement action. So in January, there was a meeting. We're told to use DVB. And then in a press briefing in March, OFCA said that the technology was not acceptable. However, on the 13th of March, there was another press release by OFCA saying that the technology can be used, or that standard can be used. So is it okay or not? We are still waiting for a formal reply from OFCA. But so far, we have got none. According to their lawyer, they are still waiting for further instructions from OFCA and also CA. All right. Even if we change and that the standard is not going to help, and some people suggest that why don't we use encryption for encrypted signals when they arrive at households? Well, there must be it must be disencrypted. But before you can decode it, before you can sell services. Now, I have a piece of paper here. Now, after encryption, you cannot see what program is on the TV because of the slip of paper. However, if the signals arrive at legislators' homes, decoding is needed. I didn't expect it to emit noise. Well, by decoding, I mean removing that slip of paper so that legislators can then receive the programs at home. I did this simple illustration to show you that whether there is any encryption or not, eventually TV programs with sound and image will be transmitted to customers' homes so long as there are more than 5,000 households installed with decoders provided by us. They'll be able to see our programs. If there are over 5,000 households watching our program, then we'll be breaching the relevant legislation in BO, about 5,000 households. There are 2 free TV stations, pay TV stations in Hong Kong. They transmit encrypted signals with encryption. There must be decoding at homes. They are still TV programs. We welcome more explanation or discussion with OFCA face-to-face. I've discussed with professors of universities. They all agree with me whether there is encryption or not, or whatever standard we use. Ultimately, there will be TV signals, images, and sound transmitted to households. And the last point is whether the 2 free TV stations are transmitting mobile TV services. On the 17th of March, OFCA issued a press release saying that they would only allow the 2 free TV license holders to provide terrestrial free TV services. Terms of the licenses do not allow the 2 TV stations to provide mobile TV services. In the same press release, it was said that given so long as they are using the 16 or 64 QAM modulation parameters, that is okay. However, in the whole of NTEs, including Taiwan, Foshan, Shatin, Taipo, Fanling, Shengshui, over a stretch of 70 kilometers, we were moving at a speed of 50 to 100 kilometers to conduct the test. For most of the time, we were able to receive free or we were able to receive mobile TV signals very smoothly. In the area colored green, we're able now. If the speed limit was 50 kilometers, we traveled at 50 kilometers. If it was 100, we traveled at 100 kilometers. We were able to receive the signals in most of the road sections here. Okay, you can use, you can click into HK TV YouTube testing of our mobile services, and there are 17 clips, and you can see how smooth the signals were, and you're free to make a judgment. Of course, after we announced the results, the administration used the clause, the offer. Free TV station customers are not really customers. There won't be any direct offer made by free TV stations. But of course, without customers or without any audience, there won't be any advertisement revenue. If the argument of OFCA holds, there is no need for us to have any license because we're not going to make any offer to our audience in order to make any agreement. So I urge OFCA not. I urge OFCA to read the legislation more carefully. Now, so long as there is any direct offer made to the audience, there is no need for any license to be granted. Thank you. A show of hands, please, if you'd like to ask questions, because I have to work out the time. Sin Chung Kai, Charles Mock, Ronnie Tong, Christopher Jong, Stephen Ho, Emily Lau, Tony Z, Posy, Ma Fong Kwok, Sid Ho. Sorry, I couldn't hear you. I put up my hand for a long time. Gary Fan. I'll read out the names once more. Well, if I couldn't see your hand, I'm sorry, but it doesn't matter. Sin Chung Ka, Mok La Kwong, Tong Ka, Ronnie Tong, Emily Lau, Chen Chi Chun, Ma Fong Kwok, Sid Ho, Tony Z, Gary Fan, Posy. All right, 12. Any more members would like to speak? I have to work out the speaking time. And we have to reserve some time for both parties to respond. OFCA or CAU can choose to respond to the remarks by Mr. Wong. You can put up your hand at any time. And we have to reserve some time to deal with the motion by Ms. Claudia MO. All right, Charles Mock. There is also a motion from Charles Mock. And we have to reserve time for handling of the two motions. All right, 3 minutes each. Sin Chung Kai. I'll be very brief. I've read the document in 2008. The paper dated 2008, and it says that at this stage, such services cannot be as popular as traditional TV services and are similar to broadcasting type services provided on the Internet. And therefore, we propose to adopt a relaxed approach in terms of regulation. As for streaming type services, they should be subject to our ordinary type of regulation. Therefore, we have no intention, or we do not recommend to amend the BO. So you already expected that they could not be like traditional TV, and therefore you didn't recommend to amend the BO. If you had, you would allow mobile TV services to enjoy the same right as free TV services, and we won't have this problem. Of course, it's not a problem of OFCA because the policy, the paper was issued by the relevant bureau, and OFCA is just the enforcement body. So I'd like to ask the Secretary whether it was a wrong decision not to amend the BO and what remedial measures can be taken. Now, of course, if you give Mr. Wong a free TV license, then it's okay for him to use that to provide mobile TV services. But the issue of a new license took 4 years. So if it's going to be that long, he cannot do any business. And in your reply to Mr. Charles Mock's written question yesterday, you said that we intend to brief the panel on the creation of 2 directorate posts and also a supernumerary post to review the BO. So you think that there is a need to review or even amend the BO. So, Secretary, do you think it was a wrong policy decision not to amend BO, and 6 years down the road you're going to propose legislative amendment, and what remedial measures can you take now?
Now, Mrs. Sin has asked many questions. I can only answer briefly. This is not a mistake. And it was after 2 detailed consultations in 2007-2008 that the policy decision was made. Mobile TV broadcast would be given more room for development, and therefore it was not put under the BO. But the overriding principle is a mobile television service, as said by the chairman of the CA just now. If it goes beyond mobile service and gets into the home, then it has to be regulated by the BO. That is not a mistake in policy. That was a decision after a detailed consultation. As for conducting a review, first of all, we have the CA, and when the law for setting up the CA was enacted, I gave the undertaking that we would conduct a review on the BO and TO to see if there is any possibility of merging. That is unrelated. That is unrelated to the present incident. When we formulated the policy, we did it with eyes open. And if it is mobile service, it will not be under the BO. That's the consensus, and there was full consultation. Mr. Charles Mock, first of all, my motion, there are two typos. It's a free DTT, free digital terrestrial TV. Now, Mrs. So, you said that it's a mobile service. I just heard that it was a flawed TV service, and in fact it is flawed. And you say the mobile TV policy is has foresight. I really cannot see any foresight. You have focused all the conflicts between them among them between the market and also the technology, and you always say that the government is always right, and you can see. In fact, the mobile TV is crossing the line, whereas fixed the digital terrestrial TV is also crossing the line. You asked Mr. Wong to use DVB-H, but in the future there can be more than 5,000 people receiving this, or 5,000 specified premises receiving the technology, receiving the broadcast. And you also need to ask those producing TVs whether they will produce TV sets receiving DVB-H. Now, if they say that that can be done, and then if HKTV is going to broadcast it with DVB-H, and then there may be a lot of people who want to buy that television set, and there will be more than 5,000 fixed premises. Therefore, this is outside the control of the broadcaster. There is something wrong, therefore, with the provisions. Everybody suffers. The OFCA doesn't know how to enforce the law because the two laws conflict with each other. The law is outdated and it takes time to change the law. I don't know whether it was Mr. Wong or somebody else. Somebody asked for exemption. Can there be exemption? If you can see that the law is unreasonable, is overtaken by time, by the market, by technology, and then apart from changing the law, apart from going to the FC for getting more money to create new posts and therefore dragging the matter on for a few more years, is there any problem to is there any way to overcome the problem? Maybe the answer is Mr. C.Y. Leung announced that there will be no limit on free TV license tomorrow. Mr. Greg, so do you want to respond once again? Yes, I do. I find it strange that Mr. Mock, who represents the technology constituency, seems that he doesn't make it clear. Who doesn't know? Mr. Mock says that there is no change in standard. In fact, there is a change in standard, and that causes the problem. Technology speaking, it is feasible. The OFCA can explain that. Technology-wise, it doesn't breach the broadcasting ordinance, and they can still provide mobile TV service. The present licensing under the BO and the development of mobile TV can go together. Mr. Ricky Wong wants to respond. I just want to provide supplementary information. When we announced that we would consider doing mobile TV, a Japanese TV producer contacted us and said that they would add one more system to their TV sets sold in Hong Kong. They would add a system A or system B, whatever we choose, so that the television sets can receive our broadcast. This one is a major TV producer. It's nothing new. You just add the cost by $8 or $10 to your cost. If you look at this, it is just a receiver which can receive DVB and DTMB. It is nothing sort of a fairy tale. It's something real. Even the colleagues of the OFCA said in January that DVB-H could be used, but in March they dare not answer us in black and white when they briefed the reporters indoors. Behind closed doors, they said that DVB-H couldn't be allowed if there were more than 5,000 households receiving the signals. So basically, it's a dead end. If you look at the whole matter, you know that the administration has adopted double standards. Now we put emphasis on the rule of law. But they have adopted the mainland approach. They uphold the rule by law. When the law is there, they can make use of the law to attack anybody they want. Tan Zuoren was released after 5 years imprisonment. He was imprisoned for treason, and they claimed that it was according to the law. Now they say that TVB or ATV didn't breach the law because they didn't make any offer. But if you look at mobile TV, they say mobile TV has breached the law. So what rule of law is there to speak of? It is about I think it is the difference between the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law. Why Hong Kong has deteriorated to such an extent. Mr. Chairman, I don't suspect the CA and the OFCA, in particular Mr. Ambrose Ho. This is a political order or instruction rather than a technology decision or a decision according to law. Now the law is outdated. He doesn't admit it. He doesn't admit that the law is lagging behind technology. That's ridiculous. We are giving ammunition to the government to legalize things that are not reasonable. In terms of news, in terms of annual report, the TVB claims that it has mobile TV service, but as long as it has not offered mobile TV service, then TVB is allowed. You allow the dominating institution to bully the smaller institutions, but you don't allow the smaller institutions to get into the market. With regard to broadcasting standard, if the law cannot catch up, then there is no room for the development of mobile TV. Now, allow me some time to explain that. I think Ms. Claudia MO doesn't understand the roles and details concerning double standards. Double standards. As for HK, as for TVB and ATV doing mobile broadcasting, is not a matter of policy. It's about law enforcement. There is an independent body to do that, and that's the OFCA. In fact, the chairman of the CA has already explained a lot. And if Ms. Mo looks at the speaking notes of the chairman, she will know how the law is enforced. That is not double standards. That's the rule of law. After we pass a law, we have to enforce the law, and we have an independent body to enforce the law. I give the floor to Mr. Ho to respond. Mr. Ho, I thank Ms. Mo for trusting the CA in its independence. We are not trying to find any provision to target anybody. We need to be neutral, unbiased in enforcing the law. With regard to the 2 free TV licensees, their signals are received by mobile devices, and if we are to enforce a law, then we have to find out whether there is any support. If we want to ban them for doing this, we need to have a legal basis. We cannot do it because we have to be backed up by the law if we are to take any action. We have no political mission, and there is no political order. Ms. Mo can be rest assured. Ms. Mo can rest assured. I'm always not biased. I will not support Ms. Mo's motion, though Ms. Mo is a member of our party, but I will support Mr. Mok's motion. Now, at a previous meeting, Mr. Lau was present and Mr. Wong was present, and I don't support any arrangement which says head I win, tail you lose. With regard to mobile TV and fixed TV, fixed reception, there should be 2 licenses, and there are 2 regulatory regimes, and I don't think the 2 types of services should trespass into the territory of other services. Otherwise, the licenses will become useless, and if we are to make any change, we need to substantially change the law. Telecommunication technologies are advancing leaps and bounds, and if you use 2 pieces of legislation to regulate broadcasting and telecommunication, that is really not adequate. And through my contacts with the lawyers, I found that many lawyers do not understand the regime fully. And just like black and white, doesn't mean that black is against white, and therefore only one is a color and the other is not. And I think not too many people understand the present regulatory regime, and I hope that they will explain that more fully.
I'd like to ask, under the BO, how do you define free and pay TV services and other types of TV services? the threshold is 5,000 specified premises. And the definition there is about households or hotels. I think this is an issue which the Secretary should consider. Now, if I am holding an iPad, I can be watching TV in my kitchen, in the bathroom, or in the sitting room. But for free TV, this is a problem. So have you clearly reflected this in the legislation? So please review the definition of specified premises. Please make it clearer. Lastly, I support granting another free TV license to Hong Kong TV. Any reply to Mr. Ronnie Tong's comments? The term specified premises has been in the legislation for a long time when the law was amended in 2000. Now we think about fixed installations. Yes, the threshold is 5,000 specified premises, and by premises we mean either households or hotels. We're not thinking of you holding the mobile phone or a tablet walking around in your household. Of course, that will still be in your household, but that is not the definition of specified premises in the law. We talk about fixed installations, the big TV sets at home. So I think the law is relatively clear in this regard. Mr. Ricky Wong. I still want members to look at our license. Yes, the law may say differently. However, our license is such that the receptors should be installed at a fixed location. Now, if you install your mobile station at a fixed location, of course, it will be mean your home and not the bus. So I fail to see. While there's been no response from OFTA or CA so far on this point. And according to Schedule 1 of our license, reception can only be at a fixed location. According to the license for free TV services, there can only be reception at a fixed location. They might not have breached the BO, but they have breached the clauses in their license. All right. Chairman of CA, please respond. Well, I'm an independent member, not a government official. I'm an independent person, and I've been in the telecommunications trade for more than 3 decades, and I've also served in mobile TV services for more than 10 years. So I do have a clear understanding of the history. In 2007-08, I was responsible for starting the new business for my company. So I am well versed in this situation. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but the question of a mobile station. Now, mobile phone, of course, you can use it when on the move, but there is no ruling out the possibility that he can continue to use it when he stands still or when it's being charged. So the mobile phone should still be used when the holder is stationary, but the essence is a mobile phone has to be movable and portable. You can walk around holding that mobile phone. I think this is the crux of the matter. And to an operator, a mobile TV is not about reception by big TV sets at home. Rather, we talk about using a mobile phone or tablet attached to a mobile network. It can be 3G or 4G. It's a personalized media. There can be direct contact with the host or the TV station. So there is plenty of room for development, such as televoting. When you watch a program, you can press a button on your phone and it can be transmitted to the operator. Or even on the subject of education, if someone is delivering a lecture, if the students find it very boring, they can indicate that or ask questions. So this is a very forward-looking technology. Ms. Christopher Jung, I have a question for Mr. Wong. Well, in March, you had a press briefing. Without that, you could have considered continue with your business. First, is it true that with a set-top box and our TV set at home, we can enjoy your mobile TV services, or do we have to buy a new TV set? And if the former is true, I'd like to know whether the quality of reception will be just the same as that for the 2 free TV stations we have. Mr. Ricky Wong, I hope members understand that even for such a small mobile device, it is already using DTMB standard. No, my question is whether it is true that with a set-top box at home, I can receive mobile TV services. Now, this is a set-top box given to us by someone from China Mobile. Well, you don't have to tell me who gave you that. Just tell me whether there is any difference in terms of the quality of reception. Well, the quality is no different, or if not better. Because of this tablet, it is running 2K. The resolution can be higher than our TV sets at home. Now, you can have high HD reception using watching YouTube. Yes, I know. Thank you very much for your answer. That being the case, I use a set-top box to view your mobile TV programs, or if in the future there are TV sets with a built-in set-top box, then it is just like an additional free TV station. Why isn't that you have already fallen into the regulation of BO? Otherwise, you are just abusing the situation. So please tell us what will be the consequence. The outcome is over 90% of the households in Hong Kong cannot receive our signals. Why? Because regardless of the standard we use, buildings will only receive signals on a selective basis. Many people cannot receive RTHK TV signals because many buildings have installed filter. So even if we adopt this standard, over 90% of the household in Hong Kong will not be able to receive our signals. DG, please. I'd like to clarify. If we use a fixed installation to receive TV signals, there can be 2 means. First, through antennae set up by buildings. There are 40,000 such buildings having public antennae to receive such signals, and other 90,000 single blocks. There may be village houses or tenement buildings, and they have the traditional fishbone type antennae. Mr. Wong said that 90% of the household in Hong Kong will not be able to receive such signals. I'd like to say that the 90,000 buildings or households using traditional antennae will still be able to receive such signals. We'll talk about 90,000 buildings, which is far over the threshold of 5,000 households in BO. Mr. Stephen Ho, I live in a village house. I also use the traditional type of antenna. Now, if I want to avoid breaking the law when a new standard is adopted and I have to change my antenna, this is so troublesome. So, Mr. Wong, I do watch traditional media. You criticized that the OFCA only informed you 3 months after you have successfully acquired the license that there is a problem. But I think they've already informed you well beforehand, and you criticized OFCA for not telling you whether another feasible standard could be adopted. And according to OFCA, as early as in January, they already quoted possible standards to you. This can be proved by minutes of meetings. And your company claimed that you have never intended to provide TV stations, TV programs to be viewed at home. And in December last year, when you announced that you have acquired mobile TV services of China Mobile, you said that the new mobile TV services could be viewed at home through normal TV sets. So wasn't it your intention that you already wanted your TV services to be used or to be received at home? You want to use your mobile TV services to access households in Hong Kong. I think you have gone back on your words, and you are also using sophistry. This is really very impressive. My friends and I used to really appreciate your ambition in the TV industry, but Mr. Wong, we cannot follow your logic this time. And when I asked my friends, they said that you are really such an argumentative person. And you have sacked some of your staff, and you re-employed them, and you sacked them again. So can you please explain your logic to us? I think Mr. Wong has raised two very good issues. First, how free TV stations have trespassed into mobile TV services. And then, when the panel last discussed this issue in 2007, it was 7 years ago. So can the administration show us more foresight? Well, 2 more members have just raised their hands, so our time is very tight. So when Mr. Wong or the administration replies, please be very succinct, because we must end by 10:30. We must allow everyone a chance to ask questions. So can you please respond to Mr. Stephen Ho's query? And as for administration's reply, I think we can leave it to another time. You don't have to be too complicated. This is a CMMB reception device provided to us by China Mobile. Now you put this at your window, and this you plug into your TV set, and then using your big TV set, you can already receive CMMB signal. The development of technology is such that regardless of the standard use, whether it is CMMB or DTMB, so long as you use this this device, you can already receive mobile TV signal. This is what I meant when I said that households could then receive our signal. Now, I'm saying that the devices must be installed at a fixed location, not that they must be used at a fixed location. Now, we require our customers to install the apparatus at a fixed location, but when they use it, they can be mobile. Ms. Emily Lau. I think members of the public still are not desperate. A few days ago, a member of the public came to me and asked, how come we cannot have one more free TV station? Now, you may claim that you've already issued 2 more free TV licenses, but the public are not happy. They would like to have 1 more station, which is innovative and creative. However, you're not willing to accede to the public's request. And for mobile TV services, we have such a big problem here. In 2008, there was already at the point whether there should be some review.
He said no. He said the decision was made with eyes wide open. You ever heard Stanley Kubrick? He had a film called Eyes Wide Shut. You really ridiculous, Mr. So. That's really absurd. Many members of the public, many people in the sector, members of this council have criticized you for not keeping up with reviewing your policy and changing the law. I agree with Mr. Tong that the CA is fair. Now, in fact, the CA proposes to issue 1 more license, but 1 man refused to do that. You've said so many things. I think finally they will go to the court. Is there any way to meet people's aspirations so that Ricky Wong or others can provide more varieties of programs to other people, to the public? I've heard there is such a proposal, whether the authorities can give an exemption so that they can provide service. Now we are in this mess because over many years you have not reviewed the law, you have not done anything. Everything is in a mess, and everybody is arguing. You need to formulate policies that are in line with public opinion. But everything, when you come up with a new proposal, you cause uproars in the community. Can you respond more quickly to the demands of the people and review the law and policy? You now come to ask for money, and then you get 2 more people, and then spend another 7 years, and claim that with eyes open. That's ridiculous. Answer my question. Not to speak nonsense, okay? Yes, we want to have 1 more. We want to have more TV service. The issue is mobile TV service. The law. Okay, time is up. I think you just like speaking like a recorder. Mr. Chen Chi-chen, we have nothing against the CA, but having the issue in front of us, we have the impression that CA in the past was a licensee and also was a regulator. A license has been given, and whether you can make use of the license is your responsibility. The CA doesn't have any role to play, but recently the CA has 1 more role. And the CA is the lawyer defending TVB and ATV. Mr. Danny Lau said that MTV, Hong Kong Mobile TV, is a hawker who wants to run a restaurant, a food hawker who wants to run a restaurant, and therefore it's not allowed. But now TVB and ATV, being big restaurants, also sell cooked food as hawkers, and then the CA comes up to defend them. TVB, HKTV is not a hawker because no money is involved. The service is provided free of charge. Now, in the law, according to the law, offer can be in writing or verbally. It can also be an implication by an act. That's a common law. And also, that's also basing on a case in 2004 by the CFA. Your TO cannot regulate the giving of free TV service by technology because the provider has nothing. The provider is not in contact with the receiver, and therefore there is no breach of 81AA. Now, can you tell the public whether TVB and ATV have broadcasted their signals, and the signals can be received by people by mobile devices, and they are not in breach of the law. Would you try to come up and defend the ATV and TVB that they have not breached the law? Mr. Ho. Well, I cannot wear the hat of a lawyer. I am the chairman of the CA. Now, under 8.1 capital A, there is a definition on offer or offering. It's not just you send out the signals, then the act is an offer. Now, it says that the person is to be regarded as offering a telecommunication service if he makes an offer which, if accepted, will give rise to an agreement, arrangement, or understanding. Then free TV will not lead to any offering at all. Ma Fung Kwok, I have two questions, one for the government and one for Mr. Wong. My question for the government is this. With regard to free TV, there are two operators. The administration is of the view that they have not made any offer, and therefore there is no breach of the law. From a policy point of view, I want to have more competition and a wider choice for the public. According to the broadcasting ordinance, free TV service means free reception and also more than 5,000 specified 5,000 specified premises primarily targets Hong Kong. Now, if they serve Hong Kong, they should do their jobs better. The BO is more stringent because it is about the content. I accept that even if more people can receive that, as long as it is not making any offer, then it's still acceptable. Now there is a problem with regard to renewal of licenses. Will the administration consider adding more conditions so that the situation can be clarified? The second question is for Mr. Wong. Mr. Wong has done a demonstration. You get mobile, you get a telephone, and then you plug it to your TV, and then the TV set can receive the signals and programs. Now, what makes you not providing a service? Now, somebody plugs his mobile phone to the TV, then you can provide service. You don't need to have a new standard, a new broadcasting standard. What makes you not able to continue your business? The CA for the first question, as said by the chairman. We have to look at the nature of service and then the relevant legislation. With regard to mobile TV, the complaint is that TVB and ATV are providing mobile service. And then therefore we have to refer to the TO in respect of license. In what way are they providing telecommunication service? And that's the offer. That's the aspect of offer. As for CMMB, it's a failed standard. China Mobile sold the service to us because there was no such system in the mainland. As for handheld device, the resolution is getting higher and higher. It's now 2K, in the future it will 4K. DVB and DTMB can be upgraded. CMMB cannot do that. You don't need to mention the standard. The question is very simple. Why you have given up? CMMB can only have the standard of a VCD. Mr. Ho. Well, I'm against the administration's decision not to listen to the CA and refuse to issue more free TV licenses. And I don't agree with Greg So that the law was not outdated. That the law was passed in the year 2000 in terms of the receivers and also in terms of the broadcasting technology. Lots have changed. You use whether the signals can get into the homes or not as a definition. But because of telecommunications technology, there is a substantial change. With an iPad or mobile phone, you can receive mobile signals. Now, you can receive the signals by a fixed installation. If you put the onus on the broadcaster, that is unfair. Is it really practicable for you to enforce a law? I think that here is a dead end. The administration should review the law as early as possible. We may not be able to come to any conclusion. Maybe at the end of the day, people will have to settle it in the court. There are two definitions in two different laws. You say the operator has the responsibility to make sure that the number of receptive installations would not be more than 5,000. But if the TVs have decoders, they are sold in Hong Kong, then you're going to prohibit the sale of these TV sets. Whether getting into the homes or not, does it mean that if it can get into a home, it is not a personal service? Now, in fact, there's a change in the community. A home may just be occupied by one person, and a personal service of a TV program can be watched by the whole family. Now, you use specified premises as a way of delineating whether there should be stringent regulation or not, and that is not we can agree. You cannot say that mobile broadcasting can get into the homes, and therefore you tightened the restriction on the internet or through other means of broadcasting, basing on the pretext of protecting the family, and you introduce other PG requirements. Now you have to admit that the law is outdated and conduct a review. He has said that the law is not outdated. Mr. Poche. Thank you, Chairman. Now, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Ricky Wong, in his presentation, made reference to Schedule 1, Para 3 of the licensing conditions. I want to know what is the view of the authority, and is there any conflicts between the law and the license? And also want to follow up on the point raised by Mr. Ma. I want to ask Mr. Wong. Under the law, you think there is room, say, for example, you have been successful for the callback telecommunications arrangement. If you are so confident, why don't you make use of your new standard to do the broadcast so that there can be a real test? You may have to take the risk. But if people support your broadcast, if you think you're right, you will win. It's a painful process, just like what I did in the past. It was a painful process for fighting for advertising for legal service. It was painful, but finally I was successful. So why don't you test it out?
Chairman of CA. First, the interpretation of mobile locations. It is clearly set out in the license. It is not that you are free from complying with other licensing requirements. the license does not automatically displace further licensing requirements. So we're reminding the licensee that there may be this is an all-embracing reminder. You may be offering mobile TV service, but if you trigger the licensing requirement of other services, then you have to apply for a license. All right, Mr. Wong, can you answer Mr. Porter's question? Why don't you use DTPM and risk being arrest being a challenge? Yes, we want to do that, but we haven't got the approval of OFCA yet. I'd like to ask OFCA, is it that so long we have less than 5,000 specified threshold receiving our services, we do not need a license under the bill? I want a simple reply. Chairman of CA. It depends. Well, it depends on the three standards under the definition of FTV and PTV in the bill. Now, if none of the conditions are applied, then no license is needed. Well, last week there was a match between Azino and Chelsea. And then the referee made a mistake, and then one soccer player was removed from the pitch. However, the referee admitted his mistake and apologized afterwards and withdrew that red card. However, for this time, OFCA has not admitted its mistake and is also enforcing the law selectively. Para 10 says that as long as the domestic TV program is intended or available for reception by an audience of more than 5,000 specified premises, this would constitute provision of TV program service. In other words, as long as the domestic TV signal is technically capable of reception, then this would constitute provision of TV program service. So even if Mr. Wong kicks the ball out, he has to ensure that the one receiving the ball will not breach the law. Otherwise, Mr. Wong will be subject to warning and kicked out. Well, the merger of media is obvious trend. The administration should promote Hong Kong's position as a telecommunications hub, and yet the legislation is very outdated, and it regulates or would like to target Mr. Ricky Wong. But for TVB, which is already developing mobile TV, is very lenient. So indeed, the administration is being selective. I also want to criticize Mr. Gregory So. The law is outdated, and it also contradicts with TO. The OFCA or CA is the enforcement body, and as a political accountable officer, Mr. So is supposed to explain the law to us. However, as the Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development, he is resorting to all means to suppress the development of HKTV, and is also hiding under the CA. So I'd like to ask the Secretary, why is our policy contradictory, and how to ensure a level playing field? Perhaps Mr. Fan was not here when I delivered my opening address. Perhaps he can refer to my speaking note. Yes, we are the Policy Bureau, and yet CA is the enforcement body. Thank you. Mr. James So. I have a simple question to ask. According to Mr. Ho's opening remarks, mobile TV services is for a reception at mobile locations. Now, if I drive a 7-seater, if there are over 5,000 7-seaters running in Hong Kong, well, you will say that it doesn't matter because they are always moving. Is that right? Mr. Ho. Yes, the understanding is correct. Now, if you drive a 7-seater, now if I drive a 7-seater and the mobile device can be taken home things are very advanced, and I plug it into my TV set, I can receive the signal. I don't think you did not require that the device cannot be plugged into a TV set. Now, if the reception device is a moving device, it's okay. For instance, if you take your tablet home and you watch in your library, that's okay. So you're not talking about moving every second. You're talking about a mobile or portable device. It doesn't matter where the person is, and the location is also mobile. Yes. You want Hong Kong TV to ensure that there will be no more than 5,000 specified premises. That is, they have to be moving locations. Now, if they don't use a DTMB and use another standard, and in future, TV sets also adopt the same standard, then do they have to change the standard? This is hard to accept because he always have to lag behind the technology. He has no intention to make more than 5,000 premises to receive a signal, but he is doomed because of new developments. So that's why we have the conclusion that you want to sentence him to life imprisonment. I mean, you want him to be doomed. Mr. Lau, on the 24th of January, in our meeting with Hong Kong TV, we exchanged views on this subject. We're saying that they should take effective measures to prevent over 5,000 households from receiving their signals. We propose the use of another standard or to have encryption. Now, if they use the standard adopted by China Mobile, then of course no encryption is needed. Now, if they are worried that a few years down the road they have to encrypt their signal, they can do it now. So using another standard or using encryption is technically feasible, so that you don't have to worry what will happen in 3-4 years' time. Of course, you use a slip of paper to conceal the tablet. Is this an effective encryption? It is for the operator to consider on the basis of the business environment. Ricky Wong, why did I say that it was a trap? Even if there are less than 5,000 specified premises. According to the BO, there are services where license is needed, all right? Even if there are less than 5,000 specified premises, according to BO, we still have to apply for another license. So even with this mobile TV license, we need another license, whether it be a free TV license or any license for other TV services. We still have 3 more members on the list. All right, if they have 3 minutes each, then that will be 9 minutes, and we have 2 motions to deal with. So I'll extend the meeting by 15 minutes and allow me to leave 2 minutes before the 15 minutes expire, because I have to attend another meeting. And the meeting is scheduled for 10:45. And we need discussion among ourselves for 10 minutes. Yes, the venue, there is another meeting scheduled in this venue 3 minutes before 10:45. Okay. Mr. Mlangsheng, my question is directed to both parties. Paragraph 13 said that when there was a change in equity shares or equity interest, the new licensee would like to make good changes and therefore re-employ employees. I'd like to ask whether Mr. Wong has considered the interests of shareholders, because if this change is possible, that will be in the interest of shareholders. If not, it will be to their detriment. There would be fluctuations in the share price, and usually a notification to shareholders is needed when there is an impact on share price. So I'd like to know whether that was done to safeguard the interests of shareholders. And of course, the public would like to have more TV stations, but we also want the service to be reliable, and that we don't want a certain service to be deemed illegal tomorrow. So the public would like the government to grant licenses according to the law. And we keep talking about the goal post. Is it for the referee or the players to place the goal post? The regulator is the referee, and the players are the TV operators. So if we like it, is it true that you can just move the goalpost as you like? Right, Ricky Wong, when there are major changes or development in your company, shouldn't you make notification? Of course. On the 11th of March, when I received the lawyer's letter from CA, we already issue a public notice in Hong Kong Stock Exchange on resumption of trading of the stock. The goalpost is placed on the basis of the current legislation. Mr. N. Ms. N. Jiang, I have a question for Mr. Ricky Wong. Yes, you applied for another license, and there was and then you could not pass the financial test, and all of a sudden you use $160 million to purchase the mobile TV license from China Mobile. I think you should have known that you could not get such a good deal using this amount of money, because you wanted to actually offer your services to the whole of Hong Kong. Now, recently, there's the House of Cards in the U.S. The audience was so high, and they use mobile phones and also tablets to watch the program, and the producer made hundreds of millions of dollars using that. So you can start your service, start producing programs. If your programs are exciting or interesting, you will have a big audience. So I support you. Start your production. And Mr. Greg, so you mentioned that the two licenses are different. For free TV license, they will have to safeguard public interest, uphold public moral standard, and protect young people and children. But as you know, Mr. So, people like to watch programs using their mobile phones and tablets, and there is no control at all over the service. Recently, a member of this council had made comments on the sacking of a certain a radio host, and I was shocked to hear those comments. To protect young people, Mr. Greg, so I think you should consider policies to regulate such services. Mr. Wong, we've never said that it's our intention to offer services to audience at home. No, we offer services for reception with mobile devices. Whether members of the audience plug it into a TV set, that is beyond our control. So long as you don't make an offer to them, you are not breaking any law. So I fail to understand why you don't start your service. Well, they say that for a mobile TV, this is the standard to use, you can start it. We don't even have the first station transmission station installed because we are not given any approval. We have a very strong legal advice that we are right, but the obstacle is we're not even allowed to build the first station. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong.
Who put the goal, who set the goal, is by the rule of the game. I find their arguments laughable. Well, a young person has 5 or 3 TVs or 3 mobile phones, and they can watch, and a child can watch that many programs. Mr. So, how many mobile phones you have? The one in the EPD watched an obscene film by through what means? That person was fired. Now he is just trying to illustrate it by a lively example. Now it can be, you say it can be received by the family. It will have a far-reaching impact on young people and children. That's your explanation. I want to ask, the one who watched obscene video at the EPD office, how did he watch it? Was it by a big TV or by a TV, by a mobile phone? I think you're just trying to find a pretext. Now, if someone, well, the DAB doesn't have young supporters. Now, if they watch that at home through the mobile device, and they have learned it. I just find your agreements, or your arguments untenable. If the building doesn't have a communal TV system, then the signals can get into the homes directly. Then you will have to enforce the law, catch them. You say you enforce the law uniformly. Now, they have yet to start broadcasting, and you say that if you do it, then I will enforce the law against you. That is just like the crime has not happened, and you have already tried to stop people. Now, you may say that they intend to rob, and therefore you keep an eye on them. And that's really unreasonable. Now, if this is not possible, then you have to change the law. Now, the CA and OFCA is responsible for enforcing the law, but you are responsible for policy. The law must have a purpose, and there must be policy intent enforced in the law. I think he's heard you very clearly, but he is unable to answer your questions. We have 2 motions before us. I believe you have a copy each. If you want to move any motion, and if you find the wording okay, if it is relevant to the question, then we can deal with the motion. Yes, Ms. Ann Chang. We just see the motion today is just tabled this morning. You've done it before. You have tabled a motion at the meeting. You asked it to be voted. Don't waste your time. Everybody has a right to amend the motion. I find part of the wording of the motion acceptable, but part of the wording not acceptable. Now, listen to me, Ms. Chang. Listen to me. You're wasting my time. I want to tell you that I have already asked anybody to move any amendment 15 minutes before the end of the meeting. You have just entered. But you have already passed the deadline for amending motion. 15 minutes ago. 15 minutes ago. Now you said that you deal with the motion, the amendment before 10:30. You say that the meeting will last until 10:30. So you deal with that on the 10:20. But before 10:30, all members were speaking, and then you extend the meeting to 9:45. Now it is 15 minutes before the end of the meeting, so it is in line with the procedures. That's your interpretation. My ruling is that you cannot move any amendments. Let's deal with Ms. Claudia MO's motion. Ms. MO's motion is in front of us. This panel condemned the CA and the OFCA in respect of mobile TV and free TV licensing matters. They claim to be enforcing the law. They seem to be acting according to the law, but they have adopted double standards in enforcing the law and is not in line with the spirit of rule of law. The CA has only informed the HKTV that if HKTV do this and do that, then HKTV will have to obtain a license. As for double standards, I think that's a reference to ATV and TVB. I have to explain that just by way of a background. Okay. Do I need to explain that? What's your question? Have I added my own position into that? I don't want to waste time. I just want to clarify the issue. When they question your motion, then we'll have to discuss it. Okay, we put it to the vote. Those in favor of Claudia MO's motion, please raise their hands. We have a quorum. You claim a division. Time is running out. No need to ring the division bell? Please maintain a sober mind. Those in favor of Ms. Claudia MO's motion, please raise their hands. Hands steady. I read out their names. Claudia MO, Chen Chi-chun, Leung Ko-hong, James Tao. Hands down. Those against, please raise their hands. Ronnie Tong, Charles Mok, Sid Ho, Emily Lau, Paul Che, Ma Fong Kwok, Ho Chun Yin, Leung Sing, Lo Wai Kwok, Chang Hua Fong, Christopher Chung, Elizabeth Kat, Ann Cheng, Regina Ip, Sin Chung Kai. Sin Chung Kai. Abstentions, please. Any abstention, please? No? Okay, that's clear. Claudia MO's motion is defeated. Next motion is moved by Mr. Mok Nai Kwok. The panel condemns the CEDB for ignoring the serious flaws in the TO and BO, which is lagging behind technology and market. With the setting up of the CA, the administration continues to drag its feet. We also condemn the CE in Council for changing the telecommunications recommendation of not imposing a cap on the number of free TV license, and so on and so forth. Those in favor of Charles Mok's motion, please raise their hands. Claudia Mo, Chen Chi-chun, Charles Mok, Sin Jung Kai, Ronnie Tong, Sid Ho, Emily Lau, Paul Che, Leung Kwok Hong, James To. Those against the motion, please raise your hands. Hands steady, please. Yu Siwing, Chang Hua Fung, Lo Wai Kwok, Ng Leung Ching, Ho Chun Yin, Regina Ip, Ann Chang, Elizabeth Quat, Wong Ting Kwong, Christopher Chung. You abstain, okay.
好啦，嗱呢個動議咧就係
10 in favour, 10 against, 1 abstention. The motion is also negatived. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.